As I'm sure you all heard by now, there was a plane crash late last night, that had a mid-air collision with a literally Black Hawk air helicopter, so I guess we could say Black Hawk down. But no, all kidding aside, it seems to be that there are no survivors. And that is not surprising, seeing as the plane did crash into the Potomac, and it was, freezing outside? Like 30 degrees maybe? And it takes 29 seconds for hypothermia to set in and basically freeze to death. So, unfortunately, all aboard died. Donald Trump decided, and we don't know, by the way, what caused the collision as of yet. And last night, there was a video analyst I was interviewed on one of the news channels, I think it was CBS, I'm not entirely sure, and he said, and I quote, he hasn't seen the video, so he can't really comment on what really happened because he doesn't know what happened. And that's the smart answer you can think of. Without looking at the video to see exactly what happened, you can't speculate. But Donald Trump, in his own wisdom, blamed DEI on it. And I'm thinking to myself what the fuck? That makes absolutely no fucking sense at ever. How are you going to blame diversity, equality, and integrity on a plane crash? And then he says, it's not really the controller's fault, it's the height of the plane and the copter. Get the fuck out of here. Really? The FAA doesn't know what happened. They haven't retrieved a black box yet. And you are going to start blaming DEI. First off, there's a couple of issues here that I have. One, why are you blaming DEI? People with common sense know that makes absolutely no sense and has no basis in reality. But your base is going to go with it because you're Donald Trump and, well, you don't tell a lie. But number two, how can you blame? Why can you blame somebody when nobody knows exactly what happened yet? Number three, it's less than 24 hours, and instead of saying the proper thing, which is my thoughts and prayers go out to the families who have suffered a tremendous loss, you're blaming DEI and saying you need to hire people that have skills. First off, we do hire people with skills. It doesn't matter if you're black, white, Hindu, Muslim, brown, blue. It doesn't really matter. If you are qualified and you pass your trainings and your tests, then what difference does it make? Right? If you have a private plane, Donald Trump, and the captain of your plane was black, would you now fire him because of your racism and bigotry? And only you want a white person? I mean, it is your private plane, so you can do whatever the hell you want. But, having said that, how insensitive a prick are you? How insensitive of a prick are you that you have to, be presidential? Be presidential. Because a real leader is going to say, this happened late last night. I'm getting the information as it comes in, and as they come in, we will give it to you. That's all you have to say as a leader. But no, you have to use your bigotry and your racism to blame diversity, to blame integrity. And do you even know what the hell you're talking about, sir? Integrity is something you do not have and you will never have. Okay? It is people that have morals and ethics. Something you know nothing about. Okay? Equality is basically what you took away from people. The civil rights. Is that everybody is equal no matter who they are. Black, white, Jewish, Catholic, Muslim. Everybody works together. That is what equality is. And diversity is hiring all types of groups. That's why job applications say, we are an equal opportunity employer. We do not discriminate against race, religion, creed, identity. We don't. And if you can't work for some whatever religious reasons, you show proof. That is what this country is about. So when you say, we're going to fire you because of integrity, and I mean, think about that. A preliminary FAA report says staffing in the air traffic control tower at Reagan National was not normal last night. One controller was managing both helicopters in the vicinity and planes, tasks typically divided between two controllers. Right? Here's another one. The crew of the Army of Black Hawk helicopter involved in a fatal collision with an American Airlines that was highly experienced, with both pilots familiar with the route and airspace around Washington, D.C. The Chief of Staff of Army Aviation confirmed that the crew, including a seasoned crew chief, was well prepared for the flight. That being said, Donald Trump, we do not know what led to this crash, but we have some very strong opinions and ideas, and we'll state those opinions now. Trump, before the crash, I signed an order restoring high standards for our air traffic controllers under the FAA. We will set the highest possible bar. Okay? Here's another one. Here's another one. No black box has been recovered, so we don't know what's going on yet. But here's one. But here's one. But here's one. Should people be hesitant to fly right now? President Trump, nope, this collision is something we don't expect to ever happen again. I'm not blaming the control. I'm saying there are things that you can question, like the height of the helicopter, the height of the plane. Do you really think that makes any sense? The FAA, which was overseen by Secretary Buttigieg, a real winner, he's pretty much trying to blame Joe Biden and Pete Buttigieg for this crash and not take any responsibility for this. Now tell me something. Does this make any sense to you whatsoever? He's blaming the administration that is no longer in office for a crash that happened last night on his watch. Tell me how this makes any sense realistically. On what planet? Are you saying to me that somehow Pete Buttigieg has some remote control in his house where he can still play head of the DOT as if it was some sort of a video game and secretly crash both planes? And that Joe Biden was on in it because they were playing like a co-op split screen kind of a thing? Does anybody really believe the words that come out of his mouth? Now granted, Donald Trump is a narcissist and a manipulator. And narcissists never take the blame for anything. In fact, narcissists have to control the narrative. And if they find out that they're losing control of the narrative, they will start attacking whoever they want in order to regain control, because they need to keep their narrative. They will never take responsibility, they will never take accountability, and they will never apologize. They will just find a scapegoat and blame them, even if that person had nothing to do with it. All 60 people, they've already recovered 3 bodies from the river. And it's a sad thing. And we've had many collision courses before. 9/11. President Bush was the president back then. I think it was the first one. But anyway, and he was a leader. He came to ground zero. And he got on the megaphone and he said, "We will rebuild stronger," or to the words to that effect. I don't actually remember, but he came because he was a leader. And he showed the American people that he cared. And he showed that during a tragedy, we can all come together. And he even helped. Okay? The United Airlines flight that Captain Sully, miraculously, everybody survived. He was considered a hero. He was branded a hero and got the Medal of Honor for that. Okay? Whoever was the president back then, which I think was Obama, didn't blame anybody. He actually was hoping that there were survivors, and he praised Sully. It wasn't about the president. It wasn't about anybody in the administration. It was about one man who knew that he was responsible for every single passenger on that plane. And even if he was going to die, he was going to make sure that every single passenger got off that plane alive, even if they got injured. That is a hero. That is a man with integrity and morals. Donald Trump is no hero. Donald Trump is no warrior. Donald Trump has no conscience. So when President Trump is holding a briefing on the disaster and saying how the FAA, which is overseen by Secretary Buttigieg, which is a lie, because he is no longer in office, because once you get a new administration, the outgoing administration leaves with the old administration, right? And his nomination for the FAA, Sean Duffy, was nominated hours early, was sworn in hours earlier to run the FAA. So how is Donald Trump blaming Secretary Buttigieg for something that his nomination just got sworn into just a few hours earlier right before the crash happened? Do you know how badly everything has run since he's run the Department? He's a disaster. He's not running the Department of Transportation anymore. He isn't. He left when Joe Biden left. You nominated Sean Duffy. He got sworn in. So, shouldn't you blame him? Why are you blaming Pete Buttigieg? You should blame Sean Duffy, the guy that got sworn in, because you nominated him and your party confirmed him, right? And you're immediately appointing an acting commissioner for the FAA. Shouldn't you have done this earlier? Shouldn't you have done this months ago? Shouldn't you have done that? Like, who do you think's been running the FAA this whole time? We do not know what led to this crash, but we have strong opinions and ideas, and I think we'll probably speak. How can you have strong opinions and ideas if you just contradicted yourself, Trump? You can't say you don't know what led to this crash, but we have strong opinions and ideas. So you're basically saying, we may know who did it, but we don't know what led to this crash. That's a contradiction. Because you're basically saying to the American people, we have no idea what caused this crash, but we have some ideas. Okay? Do you need to say that? If you don't know what led to this crash, that's all you need to say. What the ideas are is irrelevant. Because your ideas, you should know that your supporters, anything you say, they take it at face value and they start repeating it and expanding on that. And that is dangerous. And that's insensitive because 60 people just lost their lives. And the families are going to want the bodies, and it's less than 24 hours, and the bodies are still being recovered, and you're going to start speculating what those ideas are and make it worse for the families who probably haven't even been notified yet. But we had a situation where there was a helicopter that I'd be able to stop. I have helicopters. Whoop-de-doo! You have a helicopter. What makes you think the helicopter didn't try to stop? Again, you don't know what happened. You don't know what happened, so why do you expect to know that had the ability to stop? How do you know it didn't try to stop? Do you know what the conditions were outside? Do you know what the communications were between the control tower and the pilots? Do you know? Maybe it was jammed. Maybe the brakes were jammed. Maybe the wheels couldn't come out. You ever thought of that? Maybe they tried to reverse course. Do you know? I mean, like, literally, how insensitive and how stupid are you? And then you have his secretary, Hesketh, tragically that's how a mistake was made. I think the president is right. There was some sort of an elevation issue that we have immediately begun investigating. So your loyalty is to the president when you already said in your hearing you wouldn't. The elevation, again, you're making bullshit stories up without even knowing anything. You're creating a situation that's unnecessary and creating more aggravation to family members who probably don't even know that their family members are dead yet. They've only recovered 3 bodies. Reporter, should people be hesitant to fly right now? No, this collision is something we don't expect to ever happen again. Incorrect. There's many collisions that happen. They're just not as dangerous. I'm not blaming the control. I'm saying there are things you can question, like the height of the helicopter, the height of the plane. Really? Really? Because the height of the plane was a normal-sized plane. It's an Embraer jet that is designed for small flights. It is a plane that only fits about 50 people. They're all single seats. They are used for short-term flights. I know this because I've been on one. In fact, there's no entertainment on that plane whatsoever. Not one. No TV screens. No nothing. Because they are for short-haul flights. In fact, that plane would be used to go from DC to New York. Why? Because it's like a 20-minute flight. That's how I know. So the height of that plane is a normal-sized plane. It's an Embraer. It's one of the older planes in the fleets. It's an American Airlines plane. It's owned by American Airlines, but it's an American Eagle, third-party kind of a thing. So the height of the plane, blaming it on the height of the plane, is just really, really stupid and ignorant. Because I don't understand how you can blame the height. I don't understand how you can blame a collision on the size of a plane. And helicopters are one size. As far as I know, helicopters only come in one size. This is an unfortunate event that just happened. You know, this is just one event that just happened. It's unfortunate that it happened. And this stupid reporter who probably works for one of the right-wing medias asks, are you saying this crash was caused as a result of diversity hiring? Trump. It could have been. That is the most stupidest question a reporter can ever ask. And if you're a reporter, and if any journalist with any integrity, you wouldn't ask that question. Especially since it makes no sense. Are you saying, because the person was not an American, you're blaming the crash because, are you going to say it was now a terrorist attack because they hate America? A diversity attack? Are you saying that a black person can't fly a plane or a helicopter? Are you saying that an immigrant, say a Muslim or a Latino, can't fly a helicopter or a plane because of diversity? Like, what goddamn reporter is going with any? I mean, that's why I say these reporters are probably from like Fox or Newsmax, because a reporter with integrity and journalistic honesty isn't going to ask such a stupid, racist question like that. And if they do, then they have no business being a journalist or even in the news business. Because That would make absolutely no sense. That makes absolutely no sense. And when the FAA is releasing its report that contradicting what the Trump said, who do you believe? The FAA has released in its initial report regarding yesterday's crash, stating that the control tower was staffed by one person during the accident, a job typically handled by two people, according to the New York Times. This obviously contradicts what Donald Trump said. Who are you going to believe now? Donald Trump or the FAA report that was released? Who are you going to believe? Which makes more sense? What Donald Trump said or what the FAA is saying? Who would you believe? I would believe the FAA because that is the rule. Just like in planes, ever since 9/11 happened, the FAA requires that two people are in the cockpit, sometimes three. It's the same with the control tower. You need to have more than one person handling it, even if it's a small airport. So I'm inclined to believe the FAA, only because their report makes more sense, and I happen to know their rules. But we also have those right-wingers and the MAGA crowd that's going to believe Donald Trump. Even if it makes absolutely no sense whatsoever, but they're going to believe it. And I'm going to go again and say that nobody heard of DEI. Myself included, nobody ever heard the word DEI until Donald Trump brought it up. The only reason why Donald Trump doesn't like DEI is because he's a racist and because he's a bigot. Except what you don't know is that Donald Trump has Mexicans working in his hotels. That's what he doesn't want you to know. But what he also wants you to know is that he doesn't pay them. So that is really something that you have to understand. That is something you have to understand. Two conflicting reports, one true, one not. One not. And I just want to go on side topic because I'm reading something else here where Vice President J.D. Vance criticized biased reporting in the Trump White House, suggesting that reporters with left-leaning biases would still be welcome, but those acting as Democratic propagandists would be treated as such, and he emphasized that the administration would closely monitor press briefings. If you read between the lines here, he's saying that we're only allowing people who are pro-Trump media outlets into the White House press briefings. And if this is true, then it is dangerous. It is dangerous because that means which means that is a dictator, by the way, because that is saying we're only allowing pro-Trumpers into the press briefings. That means we are telling you what to say and what to write and what to report. And that is going to be the news. And that is what you are going to be told to believe. And if you try to argue with us, then we will call you out for spreading lies and propaganda. That is dangerous. But again, back to last night's crash. Here's another one. A preliminary FAA report says staffing in the air traffic control tower at Reagan National was not normal last night. One controller was managing both helicopters in the vicinity and planes, tasks typically divided between two controllers. The question is, why? We don't know yet. And again, as I said it earlier, and I'll say this again, the crew of the Army Black Hawk helicopter involved in a fatal collision with an American airline jet was highly experienced, with both pilots familiar with the route and airspace around Washington, D.C. According to Jonathan Kuzo, Chief of Staff at Army Aviation, confirmed that the crew, including a seasoned crew chief, was well prepared for the flight. And the only bodies have been recovered were those 3 soldiers who were on board that Army helicopter. So, this is your story. This is what happened. In fact, the father of one of the pilots on board the plane had just started his career. He was a 28-year-old named Sam Lilly. His father, who's also a pilot, says he was engaged to be married and started his training in 2019 and was that first officer. So my thoughts and prayers go out to him. Now here's another one. Chuck Schumer says that Trump spewing conspiracy theories about the crash turns your stomach. It's one thing for internet pundits to spew off conspiracy theories. It's another for the President of the United States to do this. Senator Tim Kaine expressed concern over the crash, saying he had been dreading in my heart such an incident after a May FAA bill authorized 5 additional flights to Reagan-Washington National Airport. While he refrained from directly linking the bill to the crash, Kaine did acknowledge ongoing worries about congestion in the area. He also expressed confidence in the National Transportation Safety Board's investigation to determine the cause of the tragedy. President Trump, we do not know what led to this crash, but we have some very strong opinions. Anyway, that's the gist of this whole story. You get it. Everyone is saying we don't know. The FAA is saying what might have gone wrong, but Trump is spewing propaganda, conspiracy theories, and it's all for his base. It's all for his cult. It is insensitive of him. It is disgusting. It is cruel. And it's a narrative he's controlling, and his base is going to eat it up. So know the facts. Facts are important. Do not buy into the lies. As Jim Acosta said, do not buy into the lies. Do not buy into the fear. This is what the narcissist wants. The narcissist wants you to believe their version of events and nobody else's. And if you try to call them out, they will curse you out, call you a snowflake, and that's all there much to it. Facts are facts, no matter how much you may not like the fact, you may not want to hear it, but at the end of the day, facts are facts. It is disgusting to be spreading conspiracy theories. It is disgusting to spread propaganda. It is disgusting to make up your own bullshit reasons. You are the President of the United States. You are a leader. You are supposed to lead by example, and you are supposed to be thoughtful and considerate and understand that there are people who are meant to do their jobs. You have to understand that there are experts who know how to do, who've sadly been through this many times before, know how to do it. Let them do their jobs. And when they investigate, when they find the black box, they'll be able to know more about what happened. But for you doing what you're doing, Mr. Trump, isn't helping. It's making it worse. Because 60 people are presumed dead. Their bodies have not been found. The families have probably not been notified yet. And you're spreading disgusting, hate, racist, bigoted things that have no basis in reality. It is hurtful. It is harmful. It's going to make things worse. Your base is going to eat it up. And not only that, they're going to expand on it. This is exactly what you did with the California fires. It was wrong then, and it is wrong now. It was cruel, disgusting, and insensitive back then. It is disgusting, insensitive, and cruel now. And it's got to stop. Because you are just showing who you really are. In my book, you are a Pino, a president in name only. In my book, you think you're a dictator and a king. And you think the world revolves around you, and it doesn't. So it's got to stop. You are not above anybody else. You are not above the law. And you are certainly not God's savior. You are not the savior that you think you are. Okay? You're an insensitive prick. You are an asshole. You are a goddamn fucking moron. You are fucking racist, a bigot, and a waste of a human being. And we're still in the first 100 days of your presidency, if you want to call it that. And so far, all you've done was turn people against each other. You want to make America great again? Then show that. Because all you're doing is throwing America back 50 years and taking us out of things because of some deep state delusional thing you have going on in your head. The world is laughing at us again. The world is laughing at us. And when the next big pandemic comes crawling, we will blame you because you would be responsible for this. And all I have to say is, at some point, your loyalists that you want, at some point, somebody's going to turn on you. Because until it happens to them, they will not know the severity of your actions. Actions have consequences. And when it happens to one of your own, just watch and see. They will turn on you when it starts affecting them and ones they love. And if it doesn't, well, then you're lucky. But just remember, the world, America has 3 billion people. And the fact that you know how many, and the fact that you know the Chinese population, but not your own country's population, is pretty sad. But yes, we do know, because we take a census every 10 years when you have about 3.5 billion people living in this world, in America. So just remember, all you need is one person. And we'll have another January 6th. Yes. But it will be to remove you from office. I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong, Donald Trump. I hope I'm wrong. But that's the way it's going to go. You're a narcissist. You always will be a narcissist. You're a manipulator. You always will be. All I can say is, may God have mercy on your soul. That's all I'm going to say.